Hey guys, what's up? Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This time I'm going to be giving my thoughts on possible character appearances in Transformers 5 by viewer request. In the past I've done videos like this, but for people who are new to the channel or simply haven't seen those videos, basically I'll have a selection of what I'll probably limit to 5 or 6 characters from the Transformers franchise and discuss whether or not it's likely that character will appear in Transformers 5 or how they could appear in the film. Now, a key thing to understand is this is primarily an opinion-based video, meaning I'll primarily be giving my thoughts, the thoughts of the requester, or any other interesting theories presented by fans. Now, as far as my thoughts go, I do try to base them off of what we've seen of that character in Transformers history, where the film seemed to be going, how characters were previously introduced and handled in the film, so I do try to use some evidence. I just don't want to give anyone the impression that this is a video giving out raw facts or like dead-on information about what we'll see in Transformers 5. Right now, this video is primarily for fun, as we don't have a whole lot of information on Transformers 5, but once we do get more information on the characters, the plot details, I would like to start incorporating those facts into the predictions, but right now we just don't have that kind of information to do such an analysis. Also, note that most, if not all, of the characters discussed in these videos are characters whose names were mentioned in the comment section of some of my other videos, and I received enough requests for characters that I might not want to dedicate a whole video to, but I did want to cover. Actually, I received enough requests that I probably should have done the third one of these videos sooner, but in the future I would like to do these on a somewhat regular basis, at least once every 2 months. So if you would like to hear my thoughts and or give your thoughts on certain characters and how they would appear in Transformers 5 or future films, then you can of course drop off your thoughts and recommendations in the comment section below. Unless there is a significant change in news on TF5, I won't be going over characters that I have already discussed in previous videos. If you would like to see which characters have been discussed in previous videos, then you can look in the description, and I'll have the characters matched to either one of the previous videos. One more thing, if you guys see that someone else has mentioned the character you would like to see in the comments of this video or another one, you can thumb up that comment. That way it's easier for me to see which characters people want to see discussed the most based on how many times that comment's been thumbed up. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. And the first suggestions come from user Joseph Riley. His comment reads, "What would be your thoughts on seeing Ultra Magnus, Override, Red Alert, Blitzwing, Cyclonus, and Scourge being in Transformers 5 since they have been rumored?" Thanks for the comment and the suggestions. As for most of the characters, I have discussed them in previous videos, so you can go to the description and see I've discussed them in number 1 and number 2 of the character prediction series, and I haven't discussed Red Alert or Override in particular, but I want to address all of the characters, even the ones that I previously discussed, as they pertain to this rumor. Now, I'm assuming what's being referred to is a lot of articles that have been reporting that these characters will make an appearance in Transformers 5. But after looking up these articles, what I found is that the articles also claim their information is based off rumors in most cases, or even when they don't, I still can't find an article with a legitimate source such as a statement from Akiva Goldsman or Michael Bay, and in some cases it seems as if they're just getting their information from other articles. Now, often it comes off being more legitimate because they mix it in with the statements from Hasbro's CEO. I believe it was him who said that we would have the film following 2 separate storylines. But then the article will go on to say this stuff about the new characters, or Megan Fox returning, Bruce Willis being in the films, all this stuff that, as far as I can tell, is just rumors. I mean, Megan Fox being on good terms with Michael Bay again with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. A lot of people think, oh, that must mean she's going to be back in Transformers, when there's really been no evidence for it. Bruce Willis has been rumored about forever now to appear in the Transformers films. At least it feels like that. Maybe it's because he was in G.I. Joe, or just because he plays in a lot of action movies and people think he would be a good fit for Transformers. I don't want to state with 100% certainty that I know these characters won't be appearing in Transformers 5, or that it was never stated by someone working on the films that they might make an appearance. All I'm saying is that from the research I've done, the claim doesn't seem to be based on anything more than rumors. If you guys have any additional information, you can post in the comments section below. If you don't want to post a direct link, that's fine. I know sometimes YouTube will automatically name it as spam, but if you could just give the name of an article and source, something like that, it would be very appreciated. Now, considering where we were left by the end of Age of Extinction and looking at Transformers history, it does seem like a pretty legitimate lineup. Cyclonus, Blitzwing, and Scourge were all characters introduced shortly after Galvatron's introduction in Generation 1. Same with Ultra Magnus, came in around that time and served sort of as a replacement for Optimus, but that's kind of spoiler territory, so I won't get into it. Red Alert, they're going to need a new medic since we don't have Ratchet around unless he'll be revived. And Override's, of course, an oddball. But considering the rest of the lineup, it doesn't seem totally implausible that they would have one who feels just random or one character that they kind of want to design on their own. And from here, I guess I'll get into my personal predictions about Override. As I just mentioned, I think Override is a character they may be including to add some original design. Now you may be thinking, wait, Override had an appearance in Transformers Cybertron. Wouldn't her new character adhere to that design in some way or that original character? That could end up being the case, but I honestly don't think that it will be, because Override really isn't that much of a notable or popular character in Transformers fandom. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are some people who really like his or her character, depending on whether you're watching Transformers Cybertron or Galaxy Force, but the character isn't someone such as Optimus or Bumblebee or even Hotshot. All of those are iconic characters who were at least popular enough in their time to warrant somewhat of an homage. I mean, someone such as Starscream had a radical design change in the films, but his personality was still pretty spot on to the traditional Starscream. I mean, even the name Override isn't a super memorable one, I would argue, so I think they're just going to use the character as kind of a generic one to imprint a new personality on and probably have a new car Autobot. All of that to say, if this is the case, I really have no idea where they would be going with the character. I guess if they introduce Ultra Magnus and he has an elite guard, she could be part of that, or she could just show up on Earth sometime between the films and be part of the new Autobot team, though I personally hope that's not the case, as I don't like the idea of just more Autobots randomly showing up on Earth. I'd rather them stick to this consistent cast that they have. As far as the probability for her, I can't really say because, like I said, I don't know what they're going to do with the character, so I would just go with a 50-50 on this one, because it does seem like they could use the character just to boost the Autobot ranks and have a new character to work with. As far as Red Alert, I think there's a very high chance this dude will be appearing in Transformers 5 and probably the following films, simply for the practicality of the storyline and probably for marketing reasons. Hasbro and the people working on the film are going to want to include a medic character. And if we don't have Ratchet being resurrected, Red Alert does seem like the next best option. They do always have First Aid, but Red Alert is a more popular character. He's had more renditions in previous Transformer media, and even the name probably would be easier to market. If he were to appear, I could definitely see him showing up with something like the Elite Guard or some other new Autobot team arriving on Earth as their personal medic, and then he kind of just joins in with the cast. I definitely see him in that part of the story and not in Optimus' storyline, as I think a lot of our main characters are going to be on Earth and they're going to want the medic there. So that's my thoughts on those characters. Thanks for the suggestion. Next suggestion comes from a comment by user Toyman1976. The comment reads, "On the prospect of Starscream returning, if they did have him return, I hope he has the Combaticons in tow. Since he created them in the G1 continuity, how cool would it be if he created them to get revenge and take over everything? This of course would force the Autobots and Galvatron to create combiners of their own, effectively starting the Combiner Wars. So thanks for not only the suggestion but the theory, and for a lot of great topic suggestions in general. It's really appreciated. So I'll break this down, first looking at the Starscream side of things. Personally, I don't want Starscream to return. While I did enjoy his character in the films, and overall he's one of my favorite Transformers characters, it would just really complicate things to have him come back at this point. I also don't think he had enough of a presence in the film to warrant that kind of return. It's not as if it were someone like Sentinel Prime, who was only in one film but had a significant focus, and we even knew about his backstory and stuff, so that could be pretty epic if they brought him back. Starscream might just complicate the plot, especially with them getting into some of this new stuff with the creators and Galvatron. If it were a TV show, I think that something such as that could work, but for these films, I think it would just be too much, and I don't think they're going to go this route. If anything, Age of Extinction established that they want to set up a new universe and kind of focus on their new characters and storylines and not really take a whole lot from the past. Now, as far as the Combaticons, I definitely think that we're due to see some military-based Decepticons, as even though that was the primary theme for the cons in the first film, we really haven't seen like a ton of Decepticons based off of something like that since then. Not only would it be really cool to see the designs and toys of these characters, but considering it's going to be 10 years once this movie's released from the original 2007 film, I think it will be sort of a nice homage to that original Decepticon cast. And I don't know if they would do this for sure, but I think the fact that we haven't seen military Decepticons in such a long time does kind of boost our chances of seeing them. I mean, I think one of the themes for the new villains is going to be sort of a futuristic look, especially on Optimus's end, but as far as Earth goes, they're going to still need to come up with themes and that kind of stuff, and I could see them going back to something like that. Now, I'm not sure if they would be combiners. At first, I thought it was really probable that this may be a concept introduced in Transformers 5, or I guess I should say reintroduced. But this was largely because I thought the Combiner Wars line was going to run up a lot closer to the Transformers 5 toys release dates. Now we know that the Titans Return line is going to be replacing Combiner Wars, so it might not be in vogue, so to speak, by then, and they might not care to follow up on it. Personally, I think it would be cool, as Devastator didn't really feel like a proper combiner, but I'm not sure if it's really probable, especially because we're already going to have the whole creator storyline being brought in. They may be trying to tie up things with the Dinobots, speaking of which they may want to outdo them or add something new, so maybe the combiners would serve that purpose, but at this point I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, and my opinion on their likelihood of at least being able to combine is a little bit lower. As far as them actually appearing, I think there's a better chance of that actually happening. Once again, it's too early to say, but it definitely seems more likely than the Constructicons returning and being introduced as proper characters, for example. Anyways, thanks a lot for the suggestion. Next one comes from a comment by user Joey Boyle. The comment reads, "How about Backstop or Crumplezone from TF Cybertron? Crumplezone could be a Transformium-made minion of Galvatron, and Backstop could be Omega Supreme's Minicon." So thanks for the suggestion. Definitely some different characters here. As far as Crumplezone goes, he seems like he would be a good fit if they're still going to do the whole Transformium thing, if there's any left for Galvatron to make minions out of. If they're going to base him off of his Transformers Cybertron appearance, he sort of could have a streamlined look, but be a stronger guy in robot mode, so he'd probably be a good fit for a Stinger type character. Also, he didn't have the highest brain function in Transformers Cybertron, so him being sort of a drone type character with maybe a little bit of a personality would also be pretty cool. Now, I don't think that they have used the name Crumplezone since Transformers Cybertron. I could be wrong about that, but if that's the case, they may not have the trademark to the name anymore, so unless we hear any news about them getting it back, I would err on the side of no, he probably wouldn't appear. Plus, not only have a lot of the Unicron trilogy characters been kind of pushed under the rug with a few exceptions, but Crumplezone was on the more popular side. I'd definitely say he's more iconic than a character such as Override, but he's nowhere near someone like Hotshot from Transformers Armada. So I think it would be kind of cool even if he was something just like a drone, just getting him in a kind of a movie style, but I'm not sure it's really likely. As far as Backstop goes, I want to say a 0% chance just because he seems like a really odd character for them to add in there. For one thing, he's a beast former. We haven't seen that in the films yet, with the exception of the Dinobots. He isn't a prominent character really in any ways, maybe notorious for having such a bad figure. He did have a cool personality in the show, and a sort of significant one since we don't have a whole lot of pacifist Transformers, but I don't think that would be enough to make his way into the films. As far as being Omega Supreme's minicon, well, that would mean 3 unconfirmed assumptions would have to be true. A, Omega Supreme is going to appear in Transformers 5, which I have discussed in a previous video. B, that we're going to see minicons, and C, that Transformers are going to have personal minicons as they did in Transformers Armada. As we see in Robots in Disguise, that isn't the case. Fix-It doesn't necessarily belong to any one Transformer or even have them as a partner. So that's all I'm really going to say about Backstop. I really don't think they're going to bring him into the film, and I can't even think of any situations in which he would really fit. Nevertheless, thanks for the suggestion, and it's cool to see people remember Backstop from Transformers Cybertron. Bad design, but a pretty cool character and personality. Now the last suggested character or group of characters is the Predacons. For this one I had 2 different names written down, Eugene Chong and Jordan Mills. I have a comment written down as well. I'm sorry, I don't know which one of you guys had given the comment, but I'll read it off here. We need the Predacon dragons to fight along the Dinobots, as I always want to see Grimlock versus Predaking. Thanks to both of you guys for suggesting this character, along with anyone else who had brought it up. As far as the Predacons go, this is another one that is dependent upon a factor that we're really not sure of yet, and that is whether or not we're going to see the Dinobots return in Transformers 5. If so, I definitely think it's likely that we would see the Predacons as an enemy to the Dinobots. Now, I'm no expert on marketing or anything like that, but I think this would sell pretty well, having the Dinobots released in the line and also having the Predacons as their enemies, and really any rendition of the Predacons would work well. Whether it would be just taking some of them from Beast Wars and making a team of evil dinosaurs, or taking influence from Transformers Prime and having a bunch of evil dragons to fight the Dinobots. They could also take a look at the G1 Predacons. A lot of them were more traditional beast, but they could probably still work out to fight the Dinobots as long as they're like scaled up to be able to combat them. So if the Dinobots are going to return and be a significant part of the story, yeah, I think the Predacons have a pretty good chance of showing up, and I would definitely like to see it. I mean, I feel like I usually focus more on like a story, characters, world building, all of that kind of stuff, but as far as action scenes, that would be so awesome to see 2 groups of giant mechanical beasts going up against each other. This, of course, depends on whether or not the Dinobots will return in Transformers 5 at all. We haven't heard much news on the film, but up to current date, we haven't heard any news on whether or not they will be returning. And the end of Age of Extinction seemed to imply that they were done with the Dinobots. Now, after that ending, they could easily bring them back, but I'm also not sure of how the Dinobots sold in the line. I mean, I don't think the sales for the Age of Extinction toy line were terrible or anything, but the Dinobot figures in particular didn't seem to be nearly as successful as people thought they would be. I mean, to be fair, not all of them were great figures, so that might also have something to do with it. I mean, if none of them really went up in price after the film, I mean, if you want to buy Slog, you can probably find him online for about $6 with shipping maybe 10 at the very most. I mean, he's ridiculously cheap. The same can be said of Voyager Grimlock. I don't think Slash is too expensive either. So they may want to go with a different style altogether. In this case, I don't think we would see the Predacons. And at this point, that's kind of what I'm going with. I mean, I may do a video in the future on whether or not we will see the Dinobots return in Transformers 5, but I'm kind of thinking they won't, and in which case there wouldn't be really much use for the Predacons. Plus, from Hasbro's point of view, if they're done with the Dinobots, it would at least seem to be useless just to introduce new reptilian characters to replace them. Anyways, I think that sums up all I have to say about the Predacons, and that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you would like to share your thoughts on which of these characters would you like to see appear in the films, you can vote in this video's poll, which should appear in the right-hand corner of the video. It's not a constant thing from what I understand. It's a new feature, so maybe YouTube are trying to work it out, but it should be a little icon that occasionally appears, and there will be a poll question there. You can vote on that. You can also share your opinions in the comment section below. If you would like to hear my thoughts on characters that weren't discussed in this video, you can drop off those suggestions in the comment section, of course. Just remember that if I already covered that character, I probably won't do them in number 4 unless news, changes the situation. Along with any suggestions, you can mention any theories you have on characters I've mentioned in this video and how they might appear, and of course you can drop off any non-character related suggestions. Now I know there were some character suggestions I wasn't able to cover, but I don't want to make this video too long, and there were some older ones. Most of them discussed here were older ones that I just wanted to get covered, so for this next video I'll try to get to some of the more recent ones. Anyways, for more cool Transformers commentary like this, you can check out my channel and my other videos. I upload at least once a week and at most 3 times, and I'm trying to update Twitter regularly, so you can also follow me there if you have an account. Anyways, that's all that I have to say for now. Thanks for watching and have a good one, guys. I'll see you soon.